I gotta tell you, I'm doing quite well myself. We are in the final 2 hours of our Kickstarter campaign for Garden Geckos. Currently, we are at $58,662 Canadian dollars, with 874 backers, and we have literally 2 hours to go. So if you're joining me and you haven't backed Garden Geckos, please go to Kickstarter, type in Garden Geckos, and throw us a pledge. Everything helps, even $1 helps with our actual backer count. That helps with the algorithms and all that kind of fun stuff. So I thought I'd take the next little bit on this stream to go through just a recap of the campaign, the game, our live chat. For some reason, I'm only getting Instagram chats. I'm not getting the chats through TikTok for some reason. TikTok feed just cut out about a month ago and stopped coming in. So I know I'm on TikTok, but I can't see any comments on TikTok. But if you are on Instagram, feel free to ask any questions and ask anything. I'm more than happy to help. And let's go through it. So first, I want to thank the reviewers. Quite frankly, have been insanely generous in this campaign. This is the most generous I think I've had from reviewers yet on a campaign. Like this rally we've had for the past kind of like 3 days. Many content creators who had previously created content took small clips of the content, came back and reposted again saying, hey, we're in the final 3 days. And I can't remember encountering that before on prior campaigns. So that was, it just hits me right here in the feels. It really does. When you have people who have nothing to gain, right? Like they're not getting paid. I sent them a copy to review, and for them to still kind of reach out and say, hey, like it's worth checking this game out, is just incredibly generous. I really, really do appreciate it. So thank you to all of the reviewers who created content on Garden Geckos. Of course, this is what we're going to be talking about this morning, Garden Geckos. This game has been going. This has been 60 days. This campaign, or sorry, 30 days for this campaign. 60. It's early morning, and it's been going great. The one thing I've noticed that I've gotten better at is the math, and what I mean by that is going into a campaign, I'm getting much better at predicting where that campaign is going to end. It really seems that if you can fund on day one, you're looking at about 2.5 times what you do on your first day as what you're going to finish at. So I remember on day one, people were saying, how do you think the campaign's going to do? And I said, you know what? Based on the math, it looks like we're probably going to do 60,000. And it's probably where this is going to end. And here we are at 58,662. We may get a last rally in this last 2 hours, maybe push up to 59, but it's pretty darn close to what the math was saying. So it gives me confidence knowing that in future campaigns, the predictability of those campaigns is going to be fairly accurate. And this is the second campaign in a row now where on day one, just to see, I do the math and say, here's where I predict we're going to end. And we've come like almost like dead on what the prediction was. So it's showing me that this is very mathematical. Right, it's very mathematical if you follow kind of the formula right. I think for my next campaign, we interviewed LaunchBoom, the founder and CEO of LaunchBoom, on the podcast about, I guess, 2.5, 3 weeks ago. And I think I'm going to participate in their program for the next campaign. We'll be launching for this fall to see if there's any little nuggets that I'm not doing, that I'm missing out on. But that campaign coming this fall is actually going to be on the sequel to Cities of Venus, which is Cities of Venus Survivors or Survivors of Venus. Very excited about that game as well. So as soon as this campaign's done, it is full steam ahead on getting this out the door as fast as possible, and then getting into getting ready for Survivors of Venus, and that involves everything from getting production copies made for reviewers to starting the pre-marketing and really getting that set up. My hope is to launch that after Essen. So we're going to go to Essen in Germany this year. And my hope is that we'll be able to launch Survivors of Venus after that. But we're here to talk about Garden Geckos. So let's get into Garden Geckos. I'm going to go through the campaign page. I'm going to recap what this campaign is all about. I'm going to talk about what I'm hoping to do in terms of polling our backers in the next couple of days. And I'm going to give you some screen grabs here, and I'll show you kind of some of the things we're working on. But there's some things I want to tweak, and I'm kind of on the fence. And I was like, I'm not sure. So I really are I'm going to rely heavily on the backers to kind of tell me, no, this is the direction you need to go on this game. And it comes down to the final artwork on the box. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. All right, so let's get into the campaign itself. So as I mentioned, we're at $58,662, 874 backers. Thank you to everybody that's supported this campaign thus far. I was actually Tom Vassal backed this campaign. Like at full pop, not even like a token dollar. Like he did the full Monty, which was crazy. I was watching the crowd surfing on Dice Tower. I'm always nervous when I see that because I know that it's kind of like an entertainment thing. So you've got the panel, and often there'll be somebody cracking jokes about this or that. And this episode was no different. But what I honed in on is during that episode, Tom is like, this looks cute. This is the kind of game I actually like playing. I like these kind of games. And he honed in on like the gecko plushie and things like that when they're scrolling on the page. And lo and behold, I see a pledge come through from Tom Vassal. I was like, wow, I think this is the first game he's ever backed of mine. So that was really, really exciting. We got a huge boost that day as well because a lot of people follow Tom and they can see when he backs games. So I was super appreciative that he had enough confidence in this game to order a copy, and we'll make sure this gets into his hands in a timely manner so that he can enjoy it, and I think he'll absolutely love it. As I said, we've got just under 2 hours to go in this campaign. This wraps up at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I used to end games like do exactly the 30 or the 4 weeks, and I would end on the Tuesdays. And it was Chandler Copenhaver from Backer Kid that told me that go like another half day over, so you get the boost from the kind of the big Super Tuesdays, which are when all the Kickstarter campaigns launch, and then you have kind of the next day for people to kind of finalize up. And so I've done that for 2 campaigns now. And this is no different. Okay, 1 to 6 players. We do have a solo mode. 14 plus. People say, well, hey, you can play this with younger players. Yes, you can. It's got a lot of small pieces that people can choke on. So there's 2 reasons for this. One is I don't want people choking on pieces. Secondly, that down the road when I put this on Amazon, so we're not doing retailer pledge. There's no retailer pledges on this game. I've had a couple retailers reach out. I just find it's not worth it. The pricing goes all over the map, and then the backers feel that, hey, I paid this much for a game, but now I'm seeing this retailer selling it at this much lower price. And often it's tough to kind of keep control of your own Amazon listing when you do that. So now it's just, I launch games, they go on Kickstarter, they go through my own web store, and they'll go on Amazon at some point, but that'll be after everybody gets their game. And Amazon's done this kind of funny thing. We had this on Hamsters versus Hippos recently, where in Canada, it's our most popular game in the States right now too on Amazon. But our listing was pulled in Canada, and it's because they're requesting the testing certificates. And of course, on all of our games, we always do. Hey, we got people that's joined here. We got Chai Games, welcome. Joe Galinsky, how's it going, buddy? Good to see you. And David, good to see you too, my friend. So Hamster vs. Hippos got pulled, and they're asking for our testing certificates, which we always do our testing on all of our games, and we provide the testing certificates. And they said, well, we want to see, this has to be from like a known testing facility. And I'm like, guys, there's only 2 testing facilities, SGS and Intertech. I've got SGS. Here's the certificate. And they're like, yeah, but it doesn't say Canada on it. I'm like, okay, but here's all the testing protocols that we pass based on the testing regulations. And you do this back and forth with Amazon, and you're dealing with bots. You're not dealing with people. And eventually, I couldn't get them to accept the paperwork, and end up having to whack the listing. So all of that is driven by having an age under 14 on your box. So the two reasons why we got 14 plus in the box is A, there's a lot of small pieces in here. We don't want people choking on them. And two, quite frankly, is I don't want to deal with the shenanigans from Amazon at some point down the road when I want to sell this. So that's why we did it. If you do want to play younger players, I would say maybe 8 and up. You can, some of the objectives you can take out. So right now there's both bug objectives and terrain objectives. If you remove the terrain objectives and just do bug objectives, then you can go a younger age group. 6 languages. It'll be English printed and then digital rule books for the other languages. Still looking for help in translating this. So if there's anybody out there that does translation for a copy of the game, reach out to me. More than happy to work with you on this and quite frankly our other games. Feedback, one of the first people to review this was the board game rundown group. And I just loved their feedback. And Tim said he thought it was freaking fantastic. And we had a great podcast episode we did with him as well. About a week later, I was on their podcast for 5 hours. And we're just chatting about everything board games. It was awesome. And he calls them Whiskey Wednesdays. And I had beer because I don't drink whiskey. And it was a lot of fun. So that was great. Emily, another board game content creator. Check out her content on Instagram. She has great videos. Absolutely love her. She gave us some great feedback on the game as well. In the box comes these thick hex tiles. I'm going to show you guys the dispenser in a second as well. But we get these thick hex tiles, and the quality that we've consistently heard from everybody is that they love how thick the tiles are, how vibrant the artwork is. We have a starting hex tile. It's interesting. Some of the photos I saw the creators do is they didn't actually put a bug in the center of this tile. So it makes me think that I need to go back to the rulebook and make sure that is crystal clear that the starting tile, the reason there's a hole in the middle of that is that the person who's last in the player turn order gets to choose what the starting bug is on that initial tile. So because they're last in the player turn order, they can kind of offset that a bit by, hey, better half reviews, good to see you guys, by placing their own bug, choosing the bug that goes in the center of that tile. Objective cards, we got 42 objective cards. These are bug objectives and terrain objectives. I'll explain how those work in a second. And then we have hidden objective cards. Hidden objective cards, you get dealt 2 at the beginning of the game. And then the players choose, do they want to go with a bug objective or terrain objective based on what they're dealt. They keep 1, and then that is the bonus they're going to score at the end of the game. The bug meeples, everybody loves the bug meeples. Let me just show you these bad boys here. Let's see here. All right, I'm going to go back to this view. So, wrong one. There we go. Okay, so let's get... The ladybug's actually my favorite. But check out these meeples. Screen printed on both sides. Just absolutely lovely. I had What's Games. Hey, how's it going, Endo Girl? And I tell you, these guys have done just fantastic art. Like their print. This is I won't say prototype. This is a small production run. But if they can do this on 100 copies, like holy crap. It is like the game is like this is an actual copy of the game. Like it turned out amazing. Here's the so just absolutely stoked on the quality of these meeples. There's a crap ton in here. There's 72. We also have our colorblind friendly geckos. So each player gets a family of 5 geckos. And as you can see, on one side they're kind of solid, and on the other color side they have a pattern. So here's the green one. And I learned this when we did Hamsters vs. Hippos as well. Is there's some people their favorite color is green as a meeple color, and others their favorite color is blue. And on that game we put it to a vote, and even though we knew there was going to be potential colorblind issues, people were like, no, I want both because I want to be able to choose. So I'm like, okay. So now, going forward with our games, we're going to do our best to try to be colorblind friendly. But you just simply flip them over and play the other side. There we are. And that allows you to then play if you're colorblind friendly. So those are the pieces, my friends, of the geckos. Let me go back to the page. Boom. Simply flip them over, play the pattern side, and then it's easy for you to be able to tell the difference. Rule book, we say 8 pages. It is low rules overhead is what the Board Game Rundown guys, I love that terminology of saying low rules overhead. And I always love it when I can come up with a new kind of like saying, like kind of board game, what the lexicon is in board games. So this is low rules overhead. I'll be stealing that and using that, of course, going forward. Right now it's 8 pages. I might actually have to add more pages because a solo mode adds another full page to this book. So I'm either going to go smaller. Oh, I got another back. Thank you. Or we're going to have to do the smaller print or go an extra page. I almost lost my... Let's see here. Get our game up and going. I'm trying on the phone here to kind of watch the ticker at the same time. 57,882. Woohoo! 865 backers. Inside lid printing. I do this on all my games. This is something that I just... It's easy to do as a publisher. I'm surprised more publishers don't do this. This really isn't that much more expensive to do this, but it just adds so much to the aesthetic of the game when you open it up and you have like the inside lid of the box is printed. So at the end of this year, we'll have 11 games published. Of the 11, 10 of them have the inside of the box printed. So we started doing it on our second game, Queen of Scots, and I'll continue on every game we ever make from now on. It makes the game look so much nicer, so we do that. Trays. So we created these resource trays for the game pieces. Worked with the manufacturer. Originally, this is going to be an add-on, and again, Wutz has been incredibly generous in working with us on trying to figure out how to get this done in a cost-effective way. And we made the trays work, so the trays come in the box. You get 2. One that holds your geckos. The other one, you pop the lid and just drop it right on the table and you're ready to go. Table presence is something that a lot of the reviewers commented on and said that they felt was something that that they liked about it. This just looks beautiful on the table, and that was the intention of our design. By the way, if you're just joining us and you are not currently following us, do us a favor. Hit the follow button. If it's on YouTube, hit the bell icon so you're notified when we do new lives. And we do interviews and so forth through our podcast as well. But if you're joining us today, please smash that follow button and give us a like if you don't mind. Premium components. So linen finish on the box, on the tiles, on the cards. We have inside lid printing, as I said, thick hex tiles. 4-color UV printed double-sided meeples, colorblind friendly, and closable resource trays. So all this speaks to just being premium quality, and that's something I really take a lot of pride in, and I always want to make sure, especially because the model going forward, I'm a company of one, is to try to put the best product forward as I can, because it's going to be Kickstarter is where most of the runs are going to be done. Small runs. So if people get on Kickstarter, great. If they don't, if they can catch me at a convention or get it from my web store, then they still might be able to get a copy. But we're not printing a lot of copies. We're printing enough for a campaign, then we move on to the next game. No stretch goals. That allows us to move very fast on this game. This game, as soon as we're done, I have one poll I'm going to do on the artwork. We'll make some decisions based on that, and then we are moving to production. So we are moving very lightning fast on this game. I want people to have this for Christmas in case they're planning on giving it as a gift for their loved ones. So, deluxe game from day one. We don't mess around with a bunch of fake stretch goals. We just give you the best possible game we can. The downside to that is you have less to talk about during the campaign, but in a campaign like this, I'm pretty happy with where we ended up, and quite frankly, we got another pledge too. We're almost at 59,000. So yeah, that's what we try to do. Why back now? We're a small publisher. Why I say we? It's me. I'm the guy. It's just me. I do have a great network of people around me. So I have I'm kind of in the center. Tin Robot Games is my company, and then I bolt on and bolt off people as I need them. So, it could be signing of designers, for instance. Kevin Levy. Again, I couldn't speak any more accolades on Kevin Levy. Kevin Levy's just an awesome dude. He's the designer of Cities of Venus Civil War, so that's going to be the 3rd installment of that series. And so he's the designer I signed on. James Freeman helped with Hamster vs. Hippos. That was his core design that we built on. I'm losing my voice here. I need a drink of my coffee. Megan Staley, who's my niece, she did bunny drops. So she's designer bunny drops. So we have all these people that kind of come on, and then they're back out when we're working on a different game. So wide team in terms of people that we are working with, but the center of it all is essentially it's a company of one. So by backing this game, you're backing me and helping me with my dream and keep this company going. And it's a side hustle, quite frankly. Backers first, distribution second. I focus on the backers, so I'm not trying to sell a bunch of. And I had again on this campaign. People reach out. What's your retailer pricing? There is no retailer pricing. Why? Because I don't want, people to get see their game showing up on a shelf before they got the copy. This has happened to me now on 3 different campaigns. I back a lot of Kickstarter campaigns. It drives me bananas when I'm waiting for my game. I support that campaign, and lo and behold, I go into a local FLG store or a C&E Blast from like Board Game Bliss or one of these local companies, and they're talking that they have their copies in. And even though they're not the Kickstarter copies, it might be a retailer copy, they're still getting the game before I'm getting the game. And that I just don't like that. So for my backers, I don't do that. For me, it's very important that you're getting your game first. And that's my commitment to you. So that's another reason why to back me as a small company. Again, exclusive game components and add-ons. If I ever do sign with a localization company, it would probably be a nerfed version of the game, because to quite frankly get the games at the quality level that we produce them and be at the price they would want to sell it at, they would have to like downgrade things like wood meeples to like punch outs and things like that. So for me, it's important that you're getting the best possible game and getting it first. And then, of course, backing with confidence, you're going to get the game. I've never been late on a campaign. I've only been early, and that'll certainly be no different with this particular game. How to play. You can download the rulebook right off our website. This most recent rulebook, it's always evolving, so I've updated this file, I think, 6 times during the campaign, fixing typos and things like that. Shout out to my 2 rulebook ninjas. We have Sarah Henderson, or Sarah Pippi, as we call her, Pips. And then, of course, we've got Andrew Gilpin from Gilpin Games, and they're just amazing with our rule books. They've made my rule books better. There's, like, you look at my rule books now versus what we did when we first got into this industry, it is not even comparable. It's embarrassing. Those early rule books. The new ones, kudos to those guys. So how you play, you place a hex tile down. You have to match, one side of the hex tile has to match the pattern of another hex tile that's already on the board. And then you place your gecko spanning that pattern. It is going to connect the 2 bugs that are in the middle of the 2 tiles that you've now connected. And you are trying to do a number of things. So one, if you can completely surround a hex tile, you get to grab a meeple that matches the symbol in the middle of that tile. That's going to be worth 1 point at the end of the game. You can also use that to trade in to get more tiles and change some tiles throughout the game. We'll get into that in a second. And that's awarded to whoever has the most geckos that are touching that tile that's just been surrounded. If there's a tie, whoever placed the tile gets to choose who wins that center meeple. And if they're touching that tile, obviously they're going to pick themselves. It is possible that you might surround a tile and not have any geckos touching it, in which case you're going to pick which player gets to win the bug. Then there's a market of objectives. There's terrain objectives and there's bug objectives. If you can match the pattern of a terrain objective, then you get to take that card. The bugs that are on the bottom of the card represent 1 point each, and there's another way of scoring them as well, but you're going to get 1 point for every bug on the bottom of that card, and you simply just grab it from the market. You have to contribute a tile towards that objective. So when it comes to your turn, sometimes a card will flip over that you already have kind of the pattern established on the table. You can't just grab that objective card. You have to contribute by placing another tile that contributes to that card in order to grab it. And for the terrain objectives, your family of geckos have to be occupying the patterns that are showing on that card. The diamond on that card represents 2 tiles that you're connecting. The patterns on those 2 tiles. That represents what you're spanning. In this case, you can see in this in this GIF. They're spanning basically a flower pattern to 2 flower patterns and the sunray pattern. They grab that objective card. Bug objectives, you can go for these. You can get these and a terrain objective in the same turn if you're good. But look at the bugs, how your geckos are connecting from one bug to another in the center of those tiles. If you can match the pattern on that card, again, you can collect the objective card. There's 3 different types. There's one card that's just touch these bugs anywhere on the board. You can get the card. There's another one where you have parallel lines like you see in this example where you have to connect a fly to a moth, and then somewhere else on the board you have to connect a mealworm to a ladybug. If you do that, you collect that card. This one's worth 3 points. And then lastly, there's what we call the Z pattern, which is it's a chain. So you have to connect this bug to this bug and then to this bug in that order. Those cards are worth more. They're harder to get, but definitely achievable. Then we have your secret objectives. If it's a secret terrain at the end of the game, the largest connected pattern on the board that matches your secret objective, and you don't have to even be touching it, you're going to get 1 point for each segment on those tiles. So in this case, they got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They score 5 points if they had the water as their secret objective. And then you have the secret of bug objectives, which is you get a bonus 2 points for everywhere you're matching that symbol on the bottom of your cards as well as the physical meeples you have. So in this case, this person has 2 ladybug meeples, and across their objective cards, they have 3 ladybugs at the bottom of the cards. So in those cases, these guys are going to score 2, 4, 6. They're going to have 10 bonus points. So it's a very balanced game. So whether you get the terrain objective or you get the bug objective, they're going to score roughly. You got the same chance. It's just it's going to be harder to get the bug objectives, but on the terrain objective, but easier to get. However, people can see you doing it, so it's more visible where you can get cut off. So there's kind of pros and cons to the different types of objectives, and I like to mix it up. Sometimes I like to play the terrain objective. Sometimes I like to play with the bug objective. Advanced scoring rules. So this is for people who are real thinky players and like to kind of like have multiple paths to victory and layered victories. When you take your objective cards at the end of the game, if you've collected the meeples that can cover up the spots on those cards will actually score double. So in this case, this person collected a cricket, a fruit fly, a moth, and a grasshopper. They have an objective card they've collected. It has those 4 symbols on it. By covering those 4 symbols with those meeples, that card is now going to score 6 points instead of 3 points at the bottom. The solo mode in this game is it's very puzzly. I personally love it. It is I love puzzles, and so it plays very similar to the core game. So you have your family of geckos. You have your 3 tiles. You're drafted. You're placing 1 tile at a time, but you also play with what we call a nuisance family of geckos. So you pick one of the other gecko colors, and you place your turn, and then that player you're going to draft 1 tile on the top of the deck. Flip it over, you have to place that tile. If there's no legal moves, you draw another tile until there's a legal move, and then you place that tile and their gecko gets placed on the board. This will block some of your path as you're trying to achieve your objectives, but if you place that tile right, it can actually help you as well in some cases, encircle certain tiles and so forth. The nuisance geckos don't win any points. They're as they are said, they're just a nuisance family. They're in the way. But this is it's a win-fail objective, so you either win or you don't. And if you pass kind of the criteria you need to pass, then there's a bronze, silver, and gold finish. And the gold is like high five if you can get the gold finish. It's very, very hard. Decent chance to get bronze or silver, depending on how good you are. But I love it, and I think if you're a solo mode player, you're gonna love it as well. So that's how to play videos. Again, we're going to get into some of the content creators. I have a great one from Gaming with Enos. I got to tell you, Tabletop Tolson is one of my favorite content creators of all time. She's just awesome. She's so good at how she teaches games and the energy and just the enthusiasm. And then she's even upped her presentation. She's invested in the equipment, kind of like Rado, where he's got like the blue screen where he can do like the zooming up of cards, and you can see the card that she's referring to on screen and so forth. Check out her content. She's just awesome. And anytime she blesses me, quite frankly, with the agreement to do a video on my games. I'm just so grateful. She's just awesome. Check her out. Of course, there is a how to play video that I did as well. I don't do nearly a good job as the content creators, but there is one with me, hearing it from the horse's mouth, so to speak. No Shelf Space. He's a local content creator as well. He has a blog where he does game reviews as well. The add-ons. So we've got the plushies. We have this guy here. Let me pull him up here. There we are. So this is our gecko plushie. He's just cute as hell. I'm going to make his eyes a little bit bigger because I like the big chunky eyes on these guys. But this is like a hand-stitched prototype, quite frankly, that the plushie company sent me. They're simply amazing. But yeah, his eyes are going to make about 50% bigger. But other than that, I think they nailed the character from the front of the box. They did great. I got to come up with a name for this guy too. Drop in the chat if you got a name for what you call this gecko. George the Gecko, maybe? Greg the Gecko? Gecko Greg? There was Gecko Bob, Board Game Rundown group. One of the members on that channel, Bob, they took a screen grab of him smiling. And he literally looked like the gecko in the front of the box. So they superimposed his face in the box, which is hilarious. So we were calling, his nickname is actually Gecko Bob. So maybe this is going to be Gecko Bob. All right, so Gecko Bob, you can add him on to your pledge. Limited run. I am not in the plushie business. I'm not going to carry a huge inventory of plushies. I'm going to produce the amount that were backed, and that's it. Maybe 10% more just to cover any lost geckos or whatever. But yeah, I'm not going to print a lot. So this is a limited run gecko. So maybe we make 150. Maybe we'll see. Okay, back to the website. First player marker. Oh, I know. I get excited. All right. Okay. So we had this first player marker, which we had created out of metal. And there was two options. And we took this poll to everyone. So here's the first player marker. They look super awesome. These turned out way better than I thought they would. Like, these guys nailed it. I will keep using these. I've used this pin company for... I don't have them here. The Cities of Venus Presidential Wings. As long as these guys keep the pricing good, they are my go-to company. They are awesome. They can realize pretty much anything you can think of. But first player marker, what you'll see is on the back. Originally, I envisioned it as a pin that you can put onto your bag or onto your shirt or whatever. But I want to give people the option. So I said, well, what if we did like a magnet version? So this one here, then you can have a first player marker that lays flat on the table. But then you also have the magnet, so you can still magnet it to your shirt. However, it's not as strong if you want to put it on a bag and you run a risk of losing it. So I took a poll with the backers on, I think it was day 1 or day 2. Day 2. And it was like, of the people that answered, it was like 99.8% of the people said, give me a magnet. I was shocked. I had thought they were going to go pins. And I did the pros and cons. Like, hey, if you want this, it could fall off your bag. And I think it was all but 2 people said, give me the magnet. So tougher to ship with the regulations and stuff like that. So it's going to add a little more paperwork for me. But everyone spoke, and based on what they said, we're going to do it. So we're going to do magnet. So this will be the magnet first player marker. I absolutely love it. It looks super cool. Double-sided gecko. If you're into geckos, you definitely want one of these to pin to your shirt or your hat, or just a slap on the table, whatever you want. Okay, so that's the first player marker. Excuse me. Gosh, losing my voice. It's been a long 2 days. Okay, the 3D tile dispenser. And I know Kevin's probably getting sick of me calling him a genius, but this guy's a genius. So we're going to present these files to people for free. So if you back this campaign, you get this tile dispenser files. So you have to 3D print it yourself for free. We're not charging for that. We'll just send you the files. It's got the gecko on the side. I printed off, and he's made a couple tweaks even since here. But this is the tile dispenser where they go on the top. I know it's going to go flying as soon as I do this, but oh well. So let me put these in here. Flip them over. Oh yeah, check this out. Okay, so you load up the hopper. I've only put like a couple tiles in here, and you just use little hair elastics to make this thing work. But essentially, how awesome is that? Like this guy, man. Kevin, if you're watching, buddy, you're a genius. I love it. So we're gonna present and he's created a version of this for Cascadia as well. So if you got Cascadia, you'll be able to download the dispenser for that. It's cool. It's fun. I'm sure everyone during game night is gonna have someone at the table who wants to be like the tile dispenser guy, and you're just gonna sit there firing tiles. It's cool. So this will fit in the box. So there's enough space in the box to be able to fit this dispenser as well. 3D print it. This one here is a rough prototype. You can see a newer prototype. I think that's the newest design is the one we actually have on the page. And again, because you're 3D printing it yourself, you can print it in any color. Awesome, awesome job. Bunny drops. Oh, bunny drops. Oh, I don't have it in front of me here. It's in my game bag. All right, well, we'll discuss it on the page here. So Megan Staley, again, who's my niece, and Endo Girl, she just joined us recently as well for this live. This is her design. She designed bunny drops. She is what we call a bunny mom. And she has a bunch of rabbits, and some of the rabbit names you'll see in this game are names of rabbits that she's had in her life. And I love it. It's so much fun. It is such a great filler game and game night. And we did this again about a week ago. Our game night finished at about, we usually go to 9:30, and we finished at like 5 after 9. So versus leaving early, we pulled up bunny drops, and we whipped out a game of bunny drops, and it's like 15 minutes, and we're done. And it's very much got this kind of reverse card mechanic like you see in, or mechanism like you see in Point Salad. But it's got more of a card drafting row column thing like you would see like in maybe Cat Lady, and amongst a ton of other games. But in this game, the board is constantly changing, and you're grabbing a row or a column, and in that row or column, you're going to get a rabbit, and you're going to get their food. But you may also end up picking up rabbit droppings, because rabbits poop everywhere, and you may also grab a dustpan, which allows you to sweep up the droppings. Game goes very quick. As soon as you kind of get to a point where everyone's grabbed their 6th pink card, that triggers the end, and then you score based on the rabbits you've been able to completely feed with the combinations of food you had. You have to completely feed their diet. If you do, 1 point for every food item at the bottom of that card. If you don't completely feed that bunny, you lose 2 points. If any rabbit droppings you pick up, you lose a point. However, if you grab a dustpan, it can clean up to 3 rabbit droppings, in which case those droppings are worth points. So it's deceptively thinky. Much like Garden Geckos, people are like, oh, this looks fun, cute. This is, I'm sure this is a kid's game. And then you start playing, and you're like, oh no, this is not a kid's game. I gotta stop and think here. Like, this is like halfway into bunny drops. You're like, oh boy, I gotta start running the math and combos here. I'm gonna be in trouble when this finishes if I don't grab the right combo. So it is awesome. I love it. She does such a great job. I'm so proud of her. And a lot of people were like, oh, your niece, is how old was she when she made this game? Again, there's a big spread in our family. My niece is actually turning 40 this year. So there is, it's not like this is like a tiny kid that made this. Like, this is a grown adult that made this game. But she did an amazing job. There's a how to play video on our Kickstarter page. Check it out. Oh, we crossed 59,000. Wow, are we going to hit 60? We might hit 60. I don't know. Fingers crossed. Share. Oh, man, if we hit 60, that'll make my day. All right. So that's bunny drops. Your pledge tiers in this game, we have the base pledge, which is $60 Canadian, roughly 45 US. That gives you the full premium edition of the game with the trays and the inserts and so forth that come with it. Welcome Jason, who just joined us as well. Furry Foster Game, welcome. Or the all-in bundle. If you get the all-in bundle, you get the Garden Geckos game. You get bunny drops. You get Gecko Bob For sure, we're calling him Gecko Bob going forward. And we also have the Golden Gecko first player marker, which is has a magnet back, so you can attach it to clothing or use it as a first player marker. Everything fits in the box. That's an all-in bundle with Garden Geckos and all the add-ons. As I'm talking here, if you guys have any questions, especially if you're joining through YouTube or Instagram, just shoot me a note in the chat box. I'll do my best to answer any question you have. Ask me anything. I'm more than happy to talk inside baseball on Kickstarter campaigns. If there's anything you're kind of wondering about, let's talk about it. The content creators, these guys have been so generous. I think Little Big Thumbs has quickly moved up to the top of my list of favorite content creators of all time. Not only is their content like super top shelf, like these guys have done, like check out their video, like their production quality is like, it's next level. And not only did they do that, they took their video, which is very generous, but then they cut it up into little clips, and they kept releasing clips throughout my campaign. I sent them a JP a note the other day. I said, dude, like, thank you so much. Like, I didn't ask him to do it. He just did it because they're super cool dudes. They're based out of Eastern Canada, and the only caveat is you're probably going to want to send them a family-friendly game if they're going to review it because, again, they play with the family and so forth, where their focus isn't on, like, heavy Euro weight type of games. Like, they're going to do family weight games, which, quite frankly, is a lot of the games that we create. Great content creator. Little Big Thumb. So they said a lot of replayability. It's a gorgeous game. Tabletop for the World. Again, it's a European, I believe, a Greece backer. Oh, it's got another back. Shauna, thank you so much. It's very simple rules, but has a lot to think about while you're playing. They like the balance of the game. Chits and Cardboard. This is a local content creator. Again, super great guy. Absolutely love him. John, we're actually on. He pulled me into a guest spot on his YouTube channel when I was over at his place a couple weeks back, which is super generous of him as well. Chits and Cardboard, check him out. You can promise it's a heck of a lot of fun. Board Game Rundown. There's a Gecko Bob in the front of the box. Let me just scroll this here. This makes me laugh. I got to find a way to pay homage to that. We're gonna figure it out. They just thought it was freaking fantastic. We have Devin Metlin. A lot of people know Devin from Board Game Hype and his quirky glasses. It's awesome. Definitely a game he enjoyed. He played again. We had Lola and Sean from Inspired to Game. This is, they were based out of, I believe, Winnipeg. Again, Canadian content creators. Great channel. Love it. They're a relatively new channel. I think they only started like a year and a half ago. But quickly they are doing great. It's light, friendly, delight to play. Favorite foe, area majority element is a great twist on a usual territory matching game. So again, we have a tile placement game here, but there is some territory control. Board game mechanic, I absolutely love Jason. He tells it like it is, which is awesome. And this one, he's like, if you like tile placement, you're really gonna love this. You like cute little wooden bits, you're really gonna love this. We have Chelsea at Garden Geckos, a game you can't help but smile when playing. I couldn't agree more. We have, again, Norm Hastings from the Board Game Museum. Overall, it's a good tile laying game, very easy to learn. Norm's a great content creator. I just love his channel, and he tells it straight up. It's there's no kind of frill in his reviews, which is awesome. Punchable Games, it's adorable and crunchy at the same time, and production quality outstanding. This quote I love because it really encapsulates what we were going for. Again, I try to make the games as beautiful as possible, highest quality possible. We like that cute element when putting it on the table, but we also want some crunchy elements to it as well. And it gets as crunchy as you want it to be. If you want to play it light, you can. If you want to pull out objectives and just focus on bug objectives so you can play with a younger group or people who have analysis paralysis, take out one section of objectives, just deal with the bug objectives if you want. I mean, you can go super simple and just trap tiles, right? Just trap bugs and get rid of the territory objectives altogether. You probably go as young as 7 if you did that. But it really is get as crunchy as you want it to be. And that's what the Let's Table It was saying. When they were playing it, they did. They removed some of the rules, and they were able to get their little guy to still be able to play with some help, and they really enjoyed it as a family. Ben from Games with Ben, very strategic game with lots of choices. I agree. It's deceptively strategic is what I would say. people that think, oh, this looks like a fun little kid. This is not a kid's game. So I just want to make sure that's clear. This is a family weight game. This is not a kid's game. It gets very strategic. Partway through, I think one of the content creators was saying this, where they're like, oh yeah, it's playing. And all of a sudden I'm like, whoa, wait a second here. I really got to pay attention. Like this is getting deep, which is good. I like those kind of surprises. The 60-minute gamer, don't be fueled by the cuteness. There's plenty of strategy and decisions to consider throughout the game. This game's fantastic. This is going to play out I'm going to do some screen grabs in a second here of some design things I'm talking about. We might make some changes, and we want our backers to weigh in on that. And certainly you can weigh in on it even on this feed. If you have feedback, I want you to say, hey, this is what I vote. So we're going to get to that in a second. We got Tabletop Vibes, just my bud, Adam. He's doing awesome. He loved it. He thought it was a blast. He thought it was beautiful. Helen from the Nerd Squirrel. She's got not only does she have a channel, an Instagram channel, she also has a review blog. She loves garden geckos, really easy to pick up, runs well. She thought it was cute as a button. Again, Billy Indiana. Billy Indiana. Say that 10 times faster. Billy, his content is great. His production quality is just awesome. I love his channel. I love his cadence, the way he talks about his games and talks his story, the way he approaches, playing with his friends in different games, how they kind of keep track of games. I just loved his content. Check out his video. It's awesome. Again, Adam Raphael, GamerReviews.com. This is a local Canadian. Then we get into our friend Ollie East from the UK. You got to give it props because it really does look good on the table. Table Talk. They enjoyed the game. Like that it was easy to learn, teach, and play. Unfiltered Gamer. Brian from the Unfiltered Gamer. He tells it like it is, man. And he actually talks about we're going to talk about the box in a second on this too. But he thought it was a solid experience. He had a lot of fun playing with it. Again, you send something to him. He gives you your medicine straight up. And thankfully, he really liked it. Selin Ward, click on Selin Ward's image here. It'll take you to their page. They do this really cool thing where they put a camera in the center of the table, and then you can move your mouse and actually look around the whole table, the game from the center of the table, it's a super cool hook. They do this on all the games they have, and they did it for Garden Geckos. Click on the link; it'll take you straight to the page. It's awesome. Something I knew I did on this campaign is I really wanted to highlight some of my content creators' photos. So for all the content creators, if you click on any of these photos, it'll actually take you to their Instagram page. But I highlighted some of the photos of each of these content creators that they took. I always find it cool the way they take the photos. It's things I never even thought of. Meeple Mike. I mean, he's all about meeples with his content, and man, what better way to highlight the meeples than a shot like this, right? There is a lot of meeples in this game. I like Het Spieljet Koppel. Hopefully I didn't butcher that. Just the simplicity of this image. You got these 6 meeples in this game, these 6 different bugs. Board Games After Dark. This is kind of your standard play representation. Chits and Cardboard. I just like I actually use this image in some of our ads you might have seen on Instagram as well. Again, I think if this is the picture, actually click on this picture, it'll take you to their page, and you can see their 3-dimensional boards. Not just this game, but all games that they do. I just like kind of stylistically the green background on this one. That's why I asked them to give me this one, this Choco Games. Tabletop for World. I liked how they picked up on the design on the back of the card is the same as the meeple. And they highlight that in this image, which I thought was super cool. This one I love how all the geckos are vying for trying to go after that same bug. I thought that was a cool shot. Props to our team. So again, you got myself, designer of Garden Geckos, and the owner of Tin Robot Games. I'm also the host of the Board Game Binge podcast. Check it out. Anywhere you download your favorite podcast, simply type in Board Game Binge. We interview every single week a different person from the industry. It could be everything from Jamie Stagmeyer. We've had him on the podcast, Jim Hudson, all the way through to new designers, smaller campaigns, large campaigns, artists. We've even had Everdale. Trying to think. I'm having a brain gap. But some of the top artists in the industry we've had on the podcast as well. 30-minute format. Listen to it when you brush your teeth. or when you get it ready in the morning, great for commuting. Megan Staley, Bunny Drops designer, as well as Bunny Mom. Andrew Gilpin and Sarah Pippi are both the rule book publisher and ninjas we have on the team. And then Cesar Ayala Delgado, he is the illustrator. And again, this game was done by people, made by people, illustrated by people. Backer Kit, props to them. They did a great job through this campaign, helping us promote. Kick Tracks, we were number one on trending on Kick Tracks up until yesterday. That's pretty amazing throughout the entire campaign. That's impressive. And then we have the shipping at the bottom if you want to see the different shipping rates depending on what you're adding on. If you're doing a full campaign or so forth, simply do that. And there's some other games you can back. So that is the campaign as a whole. Now I'm going to talk about artwork. And this is something that with every campaign, nothing is final until it's final, is the way I always approach my campaigns. And Cities of Venus is a perfect example of this, where we had some people saying, wow, we can't believe you're still making changes after the campaign's done. And those aren't like changes where we're like doing minor changes. Like, we added so much to that game after the campaign finished, which means I ate all those changes. There's no incremental funds coming in. And so we went on Cities of Venus to this. I saw this cool thing at Essen last year, these boxes that kind of open like a gift type box where it opens with a lid and then the center kind of opens up. Just amazing, amazing kind of like wow presence when these games open up. We end up doing that for Cities of Venus. We just added it on just because it was cool. One thing we recently just added to that game, literally last week we announced it, this past week, was on the front there's like a little planet, shows Venus on the front of the box. It kind of opens up. So that's what clicks closed when you close that box. That was originally made of cardboard. Now it's going to be metal. So it doesn't warp and it just looks just amazing. We added that. Again, we ate it. Definitely increased the cost of the game. But it's something we thought was important to make that game as best possible. So what does that have to do with Garden Geckos? Garden Geckos, I knew I was going to struggle with this when we first launched our campaign. Is when we were trying to design the box, we wanted to go with something that was kind of cute, that would attract a lot of people, that would tie into our kind of plushie and have something that people could kind of rally behind because they love the artwork. But our audience is split on this. We've had people, and at least I'd say we had a ton of reviewers. We sent out 70 copies, and I think we got like 50 pieces of content. At least 4 reviewers said, love, love, love the game. Don't love the box. The box makes me feel like this is a kid's game. It's definitely not a kid's game. Back this game in spite of the design of the box. And just a little check-in, we're at 59,417. Man, we're going to be close to 60. We're going to hit it. Oh, 1 hour. Come on, can we do it? Please, share. We're so close. So I've been thinking a lot about this. And one thing I'm thinking about doing is probably tomorrow I'll send a poll out to all the backers. And I'm going to send them some options for artwork and say, what do you prefer? Do you prefer us to stick with what we got, this design here? Or do you want us to go to this other design, which I'm going to show you in a second? Now, of course, people have backed the game. They're weighing in on this. They're already in regards to the box design. But, again, my plan is to sell this probably next year on Amazon or off my web store or sell at a convention. And my thought process is when I don't have the benefit of a campaign behind me to explain the game, where people are literally just looking at the box saying, yes, that's for me or not, I'm not sure this would accurately help them understand the game versus what I'm thinking of doing. So I'm going to put it out to a poll. And for people that do love this, I have an idea on how to address that too. So let me see if I can share my screen. That's an overlay. All right, I'm going to go to this page here, and I am going to see if I can change this to... Oh, I'm going to be super bummed if I can't... Oh, yeah, there. There we go. All right. Oh, and then let me show it. Okay, hopefully my audio doesn't cut out, because this has happened to me in the past. My audio actually cut out when I shared a thing. move this down here. Boom. All right. So this is the idea of what I'm trying to do. So I'm putting this out to my backers, and they can decide whether they want this kind of a box design or if they want this box. And the ideas here is that it's more of an abstract kind of design to the box. It shows, I think, accurately, at least in the front. And the back will show like the kind of the game and the tiles and so forth. But I think this accurately shows, hey, you've got geckos, they're going after bugs. You've got these different patterns you're going to be establishing. And then there's going to be these different kinds of bugs in the game. And then you've got this very, very light kind of, probably going to would do it in spot UV of the tile pattern in the background. And so this is the thought. And I'm going to have people vote. They're going to vote either on the current box or they're going to vote on, hey, I want this new Guardian Gecko box. What is your opinion? What do you guys think? So I'm not sure if my audio just cut out, but if it did, back to just my face. Weigh in the chat right now. New box or old box? What would you prefer to see? I really don't know. I'm torn. I did a small poll, which wasn't even that box. It was kind of, I was going in that direction on Instagram last week. And it was like more than 50% of the people said, go with the new design. And those who said, I like the current design, but I agree you should probably go with the new design. So I need people to give me their feedback. I think one way we could treat this for people that do like this design is do the new design, but then for the backers and for the backers only, have a sleeve of this design that slides over that box. So they can decide on their shelf, do they want this design on their shelf or do they want the new design on the box? That could be one way I could treat it. But I don't know if that's, I don't know. This is, I'm torn. I'm crazy torn on this. It's risky, kind of, I guess not really that risky, but it's all the marketing I have behind this current design. If I change the design, I kind of lose that. I can't benefit from that. The other thing I could do is just say, you know what, screw it. Stick with the current design. If I do a localization deal with someone, then we'll go with a new design on a localization deal, whether I do it in Europe or something like that. I've had a couple Japanese companies actually reach out to me who want to do localization in Asia. Maybe we could do that. I've talked to a couple companies about potentially doing localization on this in other regions. I think this would do well through localization. But again, I'm not relying on localization, so it really depends on what everyone else thinks. Okay, we're at 884 backers. $59,417. Oh, we're laser close. Laser close. Share. Please do me a favor. Share this campaign. We really need... it only take 4 more backers at the full pledge to push us over 60,000. I had this on Nutty Squirrels. We were trying to hit 40,000 and we fell like $500 short of 40,000. So it's still 40,000. Like everyone's like, you still hit 40,000. And I said, yeah, I know we hit 40,000, but just seeing that number, that complete number of 40 would have been great. And I would love to have that on this campaign, which is Cross got, should we do give me a little thing if you're in the chat, if you are on Board Game Binge Facebook group, give me a thumbs up. Maybe we'll do another little update to everyone. People hate that when you do at everyone's. I try to use it sparingly, but hey, I created the group, so I don't have very much guilt on that one at all. Okay, let me see here. Okay, let's go to Board Game Binge. If you're not part of the Board Game Binge Facebook group, do me a favor. Go on Facebook, type in Board Game Binge, like do a search under groups, and do me a solid and join our Facebook group. It is, I'm going to copy a link here. It's a great group. I post all of our interviews that we do with different guests. We post in there so you can see them. Of course, you can go to boardgamebinge.com, see the video of any of our interviews as well. But I always like to tag the actual creators in that group. So if people want to interact with the actual creators of those games, or if the artist or whoever it is I'm interviewing, they can do it directly just by seeing who I've tagged. Yeah, okay, so we're going to go add everyone. People are going to get pissed. We're going to do it anyway. Add everyone. Final hour on Garden Geckos. We are like 6 pledges away from cracking 60K CAD. Can you help? Oh gosh. Anybody ever paste a link into Facebook, and when they paste a Facebook link into Facebook, it